In this video, I would like to discuss about the villains of Chen Qingling, the Untamed, and actually offer my opinion about who I think is the ultimate villain. Hi, you're watching Avenue X, where a junkie on good storytelling shares her thoughts, knowledge, and occasional weird ideas on stories and how they're told. Whether you are an old subscriber or newcomers, please ring the bell, make sure that you get the video notification from my channel. I thought this is actually a really interesting topic because I've spent some time actually talking about the main leads, especially Lan Zhan particular videos, so I thought it's only fair that we look at the villains of the show because, like good storytellers always tell you, your heroes are only as good as your villains. On a very obvious level, in The Untamed, there are two big villains, Xue Yang and Jin Guangya. At the end of the video, I'm gonna share my opinion about who is actually the ultimate villain. To begin our discussion, let me just introduce these two villains to you again if you're not familiar with them, but that would be weird because you wouldn't be watching this video then. Xue Yang and Jin Guangya are actually called 恶友, bad or evil friends. For a period of time, they were actually working together, doing really horrible things. But as Jin Guangya is this super politically sensitive and clever person, he realizes association with Xue Yang is not really good for him in the end, so he kind of got rid of him. Xue Yang is from Kuizhou, this absolutely complicated, ridiculous Chinese character that can't quite recall in your memory about how to actually write it. Kuizhou is actually currently the area around Three Gorges Dam, the biggest human dam ever built. So actually he should sound like 我一直在骗你，哪个晓得骗你的都行啊，不骗你的都是不行. That's my attempt. That's my Chongqing dialect, which is close to that part, but not actually exact. But hey, who really cares about that? So, Xue Yang grew up on the street. His parents are not known. He had very difficult childhood. And his childhood trauma of losing his pinky actually resulted in all the terrible things later. In many ways, Xue Yang is the obvious bad guy, the bad guy in broad daylight, as compared to Jin Guangya, who is the secretively bad guy, the bad guy behind the scene. Xue Yang has a bad reputation and he didn't care about that. He was actually really proud of being this notorious person. He has little regard of other people's life. Like he said, if I decide to kill your entire clan, I'll kill every servant of that place, I'll even kill the dog. As terrible as he is, if you're watching the drama and you watch the live comments and you read the comments and you read the comments about the novel in China, people still always feel sorrow for him. Because his particular storyline with Xiao Xingchen and with A Jing, with Song Lan, is such a gripping and sad story. His background very logically explains why he acts in this way and why he does these horrible things. And while he's super clever, cunning, psychopathic at the things he does, he has this very clear, almost psychological profile that he never actually acts out of his character. You understand as a particular sort of psychopath what type of psychopath he is and why he does the things he does. He has this thing with candy. He has to take candies with him everywhere, and at the time he dies, when his arm gets cut off, they found the rotten black candy in his hand. It's very symbolic. It's like the beautiful things, the happiness in life that he never had and never could get. And the closest he's ever managed to get is the friendship that he built with Xiao Xingchen during those 2 years of actually lying to this person and taking advantage of the fact that he's blind. But the sadness obviously is at the end because that relationship is built upon lies. It couldn't be real. It couldn't last. And it destroyed Xiao Xingchen, but it also destroyed his last hope of the world. Like, there's no reason for him to live. He never actually was happy. So he's very tragic, bad person in that way. In the book, Xue Yang spent 8 years with the last sort of pieces of Xiao Xingchen's soul in his sort of soul pouch and trying to resurrect him and couldn't succeed. And then he encounters Wei Wuxian and Lan Wangji and dies. Very tragic, bad person, no excuse for the horrible things he does, but you kind of understand where he comes from, and there's always that small soft spot I'd say people always have for him. You can't fully 100% hate him. At least in my opinion. I definitely don't want to encounter this type of person in real life. I'd run as fast as I could from them. Then the bigger villain, the villain sort of at the end of the whole thing, who is the mastermind of all the tragedies in the Untamed, goes to Jin Guangyao. Jin Guangyao also has a very unfavorable background. His original name is Meng Yao because he followed his mother's name. His mother is a prostitute and his father is Jin Guangshan, the leader of the Jin clan. The very ironic thing is he was actually born on the same day as the official heir of the Jin clan, Jin Zixuan. But on the day that Jin Zixuan held his big birthday banquet with people, with gifts, with all the riches of the very rich Jin clan, Jin Guangyao gets kicked off a huge staircase, and that becomes like the biggest insult he's ever got in his life. It's clear to see how the writer set him up with this very traumatic experience to kind of catapult him to do all the things he does in the story. Unlike Xue Yang, who almost very early on in his life decided the world is against me, therefore I'm gonna be nasty to everyone, Jin Guangyao has always maintained a level of kindness. While he was in charge of the Jin clan, he actually did a lot of real work. He was like setting up like over 1,200 watchtowers around the country to make people safe. So I mean, he did good things. His tragedy really lies in that very deeply buried sense of inferiority that he recognizes he is inherently having because of his birth. That overcompensation shows up in everything he does. For example, he molded a Bodhisattva's sculpture in the temple that he built based on his mother's look, because his mother is a prostitute and he's always laughed at because of that. Once I have money and power, what do? I make my mother a holy sculpture, and all the people would, put incense and then bow in front of it. And it clearly shows how much he minded about his own lowly birth. His whole life tragedy kind of rides on that. But the horrible things he does is in many ways I think worse than Xue Yang. He used very cruel and sort of psychotic way as well to kill his father, and he also killed his older brother, the eldest not blood brother, Nie Mingjue. He killed his own son. And married the woman who's actually his half biological sister and coerced her to kill herself. He is responsible for the tragedy, really, of Wei Wuxian's first lifetime and almost kind of succeeding in the second lifetime. While he's doing all those horrible things, he also maintains this performance of a diligent, kind person who is very well-rounded, who is good at socializing, who is good at arranging relationships and working very hard actually to make their world function. So he's a very capable person. He's very sensitive. He's very quick to grasp what people are thinking and how to manipulate and use different people to get what he wants. So again, someone you definitely don't want to come across in your real life, and you should run at 100 miles per hour from him if you do. But Jin Guangyao also has his soft parts. He probably likes Lan Xichen in a way maybe Wei Wuxian likes Lan Wangji, so that he wouldn't want to hurt him. But many people feel very sorry about Jin Guangyao, more sympathy for him than say for Xue Yang, because Jin Guangyao never actually quite decided I am gonna be the bad guy. He does things more out of I have to do this, otherwise I can't survive. I have to do this, otherwise I will have no position. He lacks the sense of security, and he needs these things to feel safe. When he can't afford to be kind and good to people, he would. And obviously in the end, in the drama, like they did it really well, is at the moment when he could actually bring Lan Xichen with him to die, he decided not. He decided to let this person he probably really loves in the story, the only person he probably really loves, let him live and let him go. His ending really successfully created the climax of the drama, when actually the two main leads' climax already passed. So for the success of the whole show, we should actually really say thanks to Jin Guangyao. Without him, nothing would really happen, and then we wouldn't have gotten such an interesting story. I think for these two villains, the writer did a very clever thing, is creating three-dimensional villains who are not just, bad or horrible for being horrible's sake. They have their reasons to be there, and there's plenty of backing up about why they do the things they do. Obviously, that's not to say this is master writing, because there have been similar villains to many villains in literature history, and this is nothing new. But I think from a web novel's point of view, which is always written on the go, daily update. It's not like planned out, rewritten, edited, back and forth, lots of thinking through, years of process. This is fast consumerism kind of literature. For that, it's actually a really well done job. After reading the novel and watching the drama, I am still unable to fully 100% hate either of them, although I would still say they deserve what they've got in the end. If there's a really detestable person, like there's nothing good about them, probably that belongs to them. Jin Guangshan. Like, there's nothing good about this person. I mean, even Wen Chao and Wang Lingjiao are in a way funny. They're entertaining, although they're really like two-dimensionally bad people. They are bad but funny. Whereas Jin Guangshan is like, ugh, so disgusting. You are the most disgusting type of man. I mean, the type of man who will be completely crushed by Me Too in 21st century, in 2019. But at the end of this, who is the actual ultimate villain? I think by this time you probably have guessed. It is the faceless, anonymous mob, the crowd. Like Jin Guangyao said actually, at the very end of his life in the temple, he said to Wei Wuxian, do you think if it wasn't me who did the things that I did to result in your demise in your first lifetime, you would be fine? You would have a happy life? No, you wouldn't, because someone else would have done it. I just used the mob's power to kill you and destroy you. But if it wasn't me, it will be someone else benefiting from that. He actually strikes a really good point. That is, actually, the mob, the crowd, is the ultimate responsible party of creating the tragedy. The writer actually experienced a lot of internet troll, internet bullying, and that speech that Wei Wuxian gives on the top of the roof to the world before the big fight, you can read that performance and those lines literally as somebody responding to bully, either from internet, from real life. It's applicable 100% to 21st century's people's experiences. The mob mentality is a scary thing. Look at Gustave Le Bon's book on the crowd, and also the TV show that actually the British magician and psychological magician Darren Brown did. I think there's one episode when he did the thing with people with masks, and then they can decide what happens to a person. And when you are anonymous and you won't be picked out for doing something horrible, and you know no punishment will come to you, what kind of cruelty that you can actually do. There has been a lot of studies, too many to actually show that this is the terrible thing about being human. As individuals, we have much stronger and clearer moral boundaries about things, what we should do and shouldn't do. But once we end up in the crowd, we become mobs. And it's so easy for everyone and anyone to become mobs. Recently, in China on Weibo, the actress Re Yizha, who plays Tan Qi in Chang'an 12时辰 Longest Day in Chang'an, has been fighting internet bullying like you've never seen before. The story on her started with people actually criticizing and calling her the B word because she wears something that's like really just exposes her chest a lot. And it's not common to see that in China, but also because she's a kind of celebrity actress out there, and then horrible things, people say to her, and she fights back. And in recent couple of weeks, there have been people who just post very horrible, defamating things about her, and she called them out, picked them out, their account name out, asked them to apologize, and if you don't, I'm gonna take you to court. Which she did. She kind of got her agency to send out the letters. That often also happens with celebrity, but often it's their agent, it's their sort of manager who does that. They don't show up like at the forefront of fighting. She does. Not only that, she actually picked out individual horrible comments, reposting them and commenting on them and fight back, line by line on her Weibo, which is like never seen before, done by any celebrity that openly and sort of claiming, like, you can't do this to me, I'm not gonna just lie there, be quiet, I'm gonna fight till the end of this. And she also revealed about the depression she suffered, which is just terrible to read. She actually being very frank about her experience. And you've never seen an actress or celebrity in China who does that. So it grabs people's attention. And I feel very sorry for her. She did nothing wrong. And the level of bullying is just insane. She gets messages, ask her to go kill yourself. You are a B, you're a C, you know, all those words. Why don't you go die with your parents? Why don't you lie in a coffin? And then she picks out those comments and she actually makes an image of her and then adding all those on top. You never see that done by a celebrity. So on one hand, I'm really worried about her mental state because she's fighting a war that she in a way can't win because millions anonymous people are online and you can't sue all of them. You can't really fight back. And the cost of doing those horrible things online is minimum for those people, but the cost of you trying to fight it back will be extremely high, both in money term, in energy term, in your time, and also in mental health term. I think ultimately she probably can't win this, but I think she's super brave. She's the first person who does that, and I hope she comes out of this feeling better and stronger and not be negatively impacted by that. But you look at how she tries to fight back, it's so similar to Wei Wuxian trying to fight back the crowd that wants him to die and the crowd who doesn't know anything actually about him, who based their judgment on things that they think up that are completely not related to reality. And Wei Wuxian in the drama actually picked out one person, right, and then shoot arrow to him and saying why it is okay for you, all of you, to attack me in this way, but when I say let's do it one-on-one, then suddenly you can't accept that. Which is the same thing actually happening to Re Yijia. Is it's okay for all the people to send hate comments to her, and she somehow, because of being a celebrity, she should just take it. And she doesn't want to take it. She picks out a particular person and saying, I'm gonna sue you till the end of earth. And that person suddenly starts to cry and scream and saying, I am the victim, you are a celebrity, you are trying to use your influence to bully me. Exact same scenario. How ironic it is that it is the bad thing that you throw out first at people, and now it backfires on you and somehow you can't deal with it. I mean, I've personally had over 6,000 messages last year because of the competition I entered. And the amount of hate and unreasonable things and the things people imagined that you do that completely are unreal is just like eye-opening. So the villain, the true villain of the Untamed is the crowd. It's the crowd. It's the internet bullying trolls, the people who are faceless, who do not have to take responsibility for the horrible things they do. And we would like to think individually we are not this type of people. But the fact is, probably sometime in our life, without actually our conscious awareness, we have become a part of a bigger mob, a bigger group, losing our individual thoughts and critical thinking. It has happened so many times in human history, from ancient time to now. I mean, French Revolution, Chinese Cultural Revolution, current very fashionable internet bullying that's happening all the time. And it's almost really sad to look at that and saying, you know, human evolution has created some magnificent things. Technology advancement, our knowledge about the world, the universe has grown so much in the last century or two. But then, you know, for the past few thousand years, when it comes to this type of things, we kind of didn't progress at all. People today are still as nasty and as horrible as they ever are. So as a story, as fictional story with Untamed, if there's anything that we can draw from it for the 21st century life and people, perhaps I think the most important thing is the danger of slipping into the mob mentality and how good the world will become if everyone has that in their mind. Whenever something happens, whenever they're about to do something that may make them a part of a mob, to stop and think as an individual, should you do it? And if you're a believer of karma, you know, it's like really bad freaking karma you're gonna create by doing those things. So thank you for sticking through this quite long video talking about villains, but also talking about real life things that you can draw from a story that's seemingly completely unrelated. I sincerely wish that for everyone who comes across this video that you will not become a victim of mobs. And take care of yourself, and I'll see you in my next video. Meanwhile, live long and happy drama watching.